Doctor stood in the observation window of Zephyr 7 Medical Station, watching the alien ships dock in the distance. He had been on the station for only 3 months, working as a veterinary consultant, while most of the staff thought his job was meaningless. After all, what use was a veterinarian in a galactic medical facility built for treating intelligent species? The answer came at 1400 station time, when alarms began screaming through the corridors. Turned from the window as red lights flashed. A transport ship had crashed during docking procedures. Rescue teams rushed to the bay and within minutes heard the commotion moving through the station toward the medical wing. He moved into the hallway, curious about what could cause such chaos. What he saw made him stop breathing for a moment. They were carrying a creature, not an intelligent being, but something massive. Its body was covered in dark scales that looked like armor. 4 thick legs carried a weight that required 6 rescue workers to move it onto the medical platform. The creature had eyes the size of human fists and long teeth that protruded from its mouth. Its tail dragged across the floor, leaving a trail of blood. A diplomat named Commander walked beside the creature, her 4 arms spread in a protective gesture. Was humanoid but blue-skinned, with features that showed deep worry. She spoke quickly to the emergency medical team, her voice sharp with urgency. "Do not let it die, you must save it. The peace talks depend on this creature's survival." Doctor, the lead medic, stood back from the creature. He was a being made of crystalline structures that seemed to shift slightly as light moved across his body. His 6 limbs trembled as he looked at the injured animal. "Commander, I cannot begin surgery on such a being. Look at its teeth. Look at those claws. It is an apex predator. If it wakes, it will kill everyone in this facility." "It is unconscious from the sedatives the rescue team gave it," said. "You have time. How long can you keep it sedated?" Looked at the injured and then back at. "We can maintain sedation for 4 hours, but Commander, we have never treated such a creature. Our medical knowledge is built on species with internal structures that follow predictable patterns. This being is its physiology is completely unknown to us." Watched from the observation deck above the medical suite, he saw the panic in the alien medics' movements. They moved too quickly, made too many mistakes. A nurse dropped an instrument. Another medic stepped on the creature's tail and jumped back as if it might attack despite being unconscious. This was not medicine, this was fear. Walked down the stairs and pushed through the swing doors into the medical suite. Everyone turned to look at him. A human in a place where all the important decisions were made by more advanced species. He could see it in their eyes, the question they all had. What was he doing here? "I am doctor, I work with animals. With creatures," he said, speaking slowly so the translation matrix could catch every word. Doctor made a sound that was probably not pleasant. "This is not an animal, Doctor. This is a dangerous creature from a hostile world." "It is an animal," said simply. "Just like every living thing that breathes, eats, and thinks, it is just bigger than most animals I have worked with." Commander studied him carefully. "Can you help? Thee is one of our most important allies. We brought it here because we believed your medical station was the best in this sector." "It is," said, "but they are afraid." He looked at Doctor and the other medics. "Fear makes you move wrong. Fear makes you make mistakes. An injured animal can feel fear. If you are all scared, the creature will feel it when it wakes." "Of course it will be afraid," another medic said. "It is a predator, it will attack." Walked closer to the creature. Up close he could see the damage from the crash. One of its front legs was badly broken. Deep cuts ran along its side. There was bleeding from somewhere internal, he could see it in the shallow breathing. But the creature's heart still beat. Its eyes moved under closed eyelids. It was dreaming, probably about its pack or its home. "I need to examine it," said. "Absolutely not," said. "When that sedative wears off, you will be its first living thing to attack." Ignored him and pulled on gloves. He began to carefully remove the bloody material from around the largest wound. His hands were steady. His breathing was calm. The medics watched him like he was walking into fire. "What is that?" one of them asked, pointing at the deep wound. "A break," said. "The bone broke, yes, but the structure inside is still intact. The bleeding needs to stop first, then we stabilize the break. See here?" He pointed with steady fingers. "This is muscle, not organ. The cut is deep, but not into the body cavity." He continued his examination, speaking as he worked. He explained what he found in simple words. The creature had tough skin that would help it heal. Its bone structure suggested it recovered quickly from injury, probably something that came from living on a hard world. The breathing pattern told him the internal bleeding was in one specific area, not spreading throughout the chest. After 20 minutes of work, stepped back. It will live, but you need to stop treating it like a monster. It is just hurt and scared. Commander moved closer. What do you recommend, doctor? Clean water and stable rest first, said. Stop the bleeding in the side cut. Set the broken leg. Give it medicine for the pain, something gentle. And then, most important thing, keep it calm. No loud noises, no quick movements, no fear. Doctor made a sound again. You make this sound simple, but a creature this size, this dangerous, is just a creature, said. I have worked with big cats on Earth, dangerous animals that could kill a human in one move. But you do not treat them like killers, you treat them like patients who need help. Commander looked at Doctor. He is right. The transport reports say that was trying to protect a young one when the crash happened. It was already hurt before it arrived here. Something changed in the room then. The medics looked at the creature differently. Not as a threat, but as something that had been trying to do something good when disaster struck. Will you help us? Asked. The question seemed to cost him something to ask. Nodded. I will do the main work, but you all need to learn. This is only the beginning. For the next 2 hours, directed the work. He showed them how to clean the wound properly. He explained where to place the setting for the broken leg. He stayed calm through every procedure, and his calmness began to spread through the medical team. They moved with more purpose. Their hands stopped shaking. When the worst of the work was done, the creature remained unconscious but stable. The bleeding had stopped. The broken leg was secured. And all around, the medics who had been terrified were now beginning to understand that this impossible patient might actually survive. Looked at the sleeping and allowed himself a small smile. The hardest part was never the medicine. It was always teaching others that fear was a choice, and it was a choice that led nowhere. Rest now, he said softly to the creature, even knowing it could not hear him. Tomorrow we start the real work. Commander stood beside him. Thank you, doctor. I think you may have just changed everything. Opened its eyes at 6:00 the next morning. Was there, sitting on a low stool beside the medical platform, reading data on a small screen. He did not move suddenly when the creature's massive eyes blinked and focused. He simply kept reading, letting the sedative wear off naturally. The creature would need to adjust to being awake without fear added to its confusion. Doctor watched from behind the protective glass of the observation room. 3 other medics stood with him, ready to activate the emergency containment field if the creature showed signs of violence. They had warned not to be alone with the. He had listened to their warning and then ignored it completely. The creature's breathing changed. Its heartbeat accelerated on the monitors. Finally looked up from his screen and met the creature's eyes directly. Hello, he said in a soft, steady voice. You are safe now. The crash is over. You are in a medical station. I am here to help you get better. This head moved slightly. Its nose caught the scent of the human. The huge pupil in its eye expanded and contracted as it tried to focus. Did not move. He simply sat and breathed and waited. Your leg is broken, continued. We have set it. Your side has a cut, but we have closed it. You are hurt, but you will heal. You are not in danger here. The creature made a low sound in its throat. Not a roar, not a growl, more like a question. Stood slowly and walked to the creature's side. He reached out and placed his hand on its neck, just below where the scales became softer. His touch was firm but gentle. A veterinarian's touch, learned over decades of working with animals that could kill with one movement. Behind the glass, Doctor leaned forward. Nurse, a younger with curiosity in her eyes, stepped closer to the window. He is insane, one of the other medics said. The creature will attack. It is showing aggression signals. But saw something different. The creature's breathing was slowing. Its heartbeat was becoming steadier. The sound it had made was not aggression, it was fear. An injured animal, confused and alone, making a sound that meant, where am I? Where is my group? Am I going to die? Pressed his hand firmly against the creature's neck. Your name is yes, that is what your people call you. You are strong, you survived the crash, you will survive this. The creature's huge head turned slightly toward. The mouth opened, showing those terrible teeth. But no attack came. Instead, the creature made that low sound again, quieter this time. I need to check your legs, said. He moved to the broken front leg, wrapped now in bandaging that would keep the bone aligned. He touched it carefully, feeling the setting beneath the wrapping. This is good. This is stable. When the bone heals, you will be able to run again. You will be able to hunt again. He spent the next hour examining the creature carefully. He checked every wound. He tested the creature's responses to touch. He observed how the sedative was wearing off and how this natural consciousness was returning. And all the time, he spoke to it in calm words, explaining what he was doing and why. Doctor came down from the observation room and moved to the medical platform, keeping a safe distance. Nurse followed him. Doctor, you are very brave or very foolish, said. I cannot decide which. Neither, said, continuing his examination. I am just working. This creature has been under stress since the moment of the crash. Every time one of you approached it in fear, it felt that fear. Fear is not quiet. Fear has a smell. Fear has a vibration in the voice. Animals feel it as strongly as they feel pain. But it is an apex predator, said. There was wonder in her voice rather than fear. From our records, hunt in packs. They are extremely intelligent. They follow complex social structures. They plan their hunts for days before executing them. Exactly, said. He was now checking the creature's teeth and gums, moving with practiced ease despite the obvious danger if they decided to bite. An apex predator is not a mindless killer. It is an intelligent being with social bonds. Look at this animal. It is not trying to hurt me. It is watching me. It is trying to understand what I am doing. This breathing had slowed to almost normal. Its pupil tracked movements carefully. When moved to a spot that still hurt, the creature tensed, but it did not strike. It simply moved slightly away, signaling pain without aggression. It is communicating with you, said. Surprise was clear in his voice. Yes, said. Every animal communicates. You just have to learn the language. This creature is telling me that this area here still hurts. This means the internal bleeding is still causing pain, though not immediately dangerous. It is telling me that it is thirsty by the way its tongue moved across its mouth. It is telling me it trusts me by the way it closes its eyes when I touch its neck. Nurse moved closer, abandoning her fear. What should we do next? Water, said. Clean water, not hot. Food will come later, something soft that is easy to swallow, and we need to remove the sedative completely. The creature needs to wake fully. Consciousness helps healing. Pain teaches the mind where not to move. Pain causes suffering, said. We typically sedate patients to make us comfortable, interrupted gently. Not to make them comfortable. If the feels pain in its leg, it will not move the leg. It will protect it naturally. Sedation would make it move without thinking. It would damage the healing. Over the next 3 hours, supervised the care of the completely. He directed and the other medics in simple, clear instructions. He explained the reason for each action. He showed them where to place water so the creature could drink without movement hurting it. He demonstrated how to clean a wound without causing additional damage. And he talked to the entire time. You are doing well. See how strong you are? I have worked with small creatures I have worked with animals the size of vehicles. None of them had the strength you have. None of them recovered as fast as you will recover. They began to recognize voice. When other medics approached, the creature would tense. When came near, the creature would relax. Its eye would follow him around the room. Doctor watched this development with growing fascination. This crystalline structure seemed to shift color slightly as his thoughts moved through new understanding. You are not just treating an injury, said. You are treating a mind. The mind and the body are not separate, said. On Earth, we have learned this lesson over thousands of years. Animals heal faster when they feel safe. They suffer more when they feel fear. The best medicine for a creature like this is both treatment and trust. By evening, the was fully awake. It was moving its head, trying to shift its weight off the broken leg. It was watching the medics work with deep intelligence in its eyes. It made soft sounds when was out of sight and quieter sounds when was nearby. Commander arrived in the evening to check on the creature's progress. She entered the medical suite slowly, moving with respect for the dangerous being on the platform. They did not react with aggression. It is stable, reported. Better than stable. The internal bleeding is not increasing. The leg is setting correctly, and see this. He pointed to the creature's eyes. It is present now. It is aware. It is thinking about what is happening. Tomorrow we can begin moving it. Walking will help it heal faster. You have done something remarkable, said. She was looking at them with new respect. Thank you, doctor, truly. Looked at the creature and felt the weight of the moment. This being had almost died. The fear in this station could have killed it as easily as any injury. but understanding, simple understanding, had saved its life. "The remarkable thing," said quietly, "is that your people were afraid. But 3 days had passed since they arrived at Zephyr 7 Medical Station. In those 3 days, the entire understanding of the creature had changed, not just but for every medic who had come into contact with it." Stood in the secondary treatment room with doctor, looking at the scan results that showed the internal bleeding had stopped completely. The broken leg was healing at a rate that seemed impossible, even for a creature. "The physiology is remarkable," said. His crystalline form seemed to glow with satisfaction. "The creature's bone density is 3 times that of standard humanoid structures. Its healing rate is approximately 5 times faster than ours. And look here. The immune system is already fighting off any infection. We gave it the broad-spectrum antibiotic 2 days ago, but the creature's own biology is doing most of the work." "This is common on harsh worlds," said. "Evolution does not waste time with slow healing when an animal must recover quickly to survive. A predator that cannot hunt within days of injury will starve. This body knows this. It is built for survival and quick recovery." Entered with a hydration report. The young had become primary assistant, learning his methods with eager attention. She was proving to be a natural with the creature. "Thee is taking more water now," she reported. "Doctor, it made a new sound this morning, different from the communication sounds it makes with you." "A good sound or a bad sound?" asked. "Neither," said. "It was like a question, a long, low sound that moved between different tones. It lasted for 17 seconds. Nodded, he had heard that sound. It was this way of calling out to its pack. The creature was lonely, separated from its social group by the accident and the rescue. That was something no medicine could fix directly, but it was something understood. "That means it is getting stronger," said. "The creature is now thinking about more than survival. It is thinking about what it has lost." Over the next 2 standard days, developed a complete treatment plan based on his understanding of the psychology. He worked with doctor to teach the entire medical team the principles of treating intelligent creatures with respect rather than fear. The lessons were simple but powerful. First, that fear is contagious. If the medics were afraid, the creature would respond with defensive behavior. If the medics were calm, the creature would be cooperative. Demonstrated this principle repeatedly. When new medical personnel came to check on the creature, he would first speak to them privately. He would explain that it was intelligent, that it understood tone and intention. He would tell them to approach with respect, not fear, and it worked every time. Second, that understanding an animal's psychology was as important as understanding its medicine. Explained that they had instincts thousands of years old. It had been bred in an environment where danger was constant. But it also had intelligence. It had social bonds. It had learned to trust individuals within its pack. If the medics could position themselves as part of the creature's safety group rather than as threats, the creature would cooperate. Third, that communication without words was possible, showed the medics how to read this body language. When its pupils were wide, the creature was alert. When they were narrow, it was either focused or in pain. When the creature made the deep rumbling sound, it was content. When the sound was high-pitched and quick, it was anxious. By learning to read these signals, the medics could know what the creature needed before it became a problem. Commander arrived on the 4th day with news that changed everything. "Thee is named Sar," she said, speaking directly to the creature in a series of clicks and vocalizations that sounded like nothing any of the medics had heard before. The responded immediately with a series of matching sounds, longer and more complex than its previous communications. "You can speak with it?" asked, amazed. "Our species have had contact with the people for 40 years, explained. "They do not speak as we do, but yes, we can communicate. Sarah's telling me that it was protecting a young one when the transport crashed. The young one is Sar's offspring." The revelation rippled through the room. The dangerous apex predator was apparent. It had been trying to protect its child when disaster struck. Looked at with new understanding. "Where is the young one? Is it safe?" "Safe, yes," said. "But Sar fears it will be blamed for the crash. The transport collision was an accident, but there are those who would use it as an excuse to turn the peace talks against interests. If Sar dies, the evidence of its innocence dies with it. If Sar survives and testifies that it was protecting its young, the truth becomes clear." The stakes of the treatment suddenly became much larger than simple medicine. This was about peace, about justice, about a species that had risked everything to be part of galactic civilization. felt the weight of it, but he did not let it slow his work. Medicine was medicine, whether the patient was a simple creature or someone with galactic importance. He continued his treatments with the same care and respect he had shown from the first moment. On the 6th day, had a decision to make about Sar's recovery. The leg was healing well, but the creature needed to move. It needed to walk to build strength back into the muscles that the injury had damaged. This would be painful for Sar, but it was necessary for complete healing. Explained this to the creature as he prepared to help it stand. "I know this will hurt," he said in his calm voice. "But pain now means strength later. Pain means you will walk again. Pain means you will hunt again. Pain means you will see your offspring again." He said the last words looking directly into Sar's massive eyes. The creature made a series of sounds, low and complex, that Commander translated as acceptance and gratitude. The standing took 3 hours. Sar's broken leg could not bear its weight, so Doctor rigged a support system that took most of the pressure off the damaged limb. But the creature still had to engage its muscles, still had to shift its center of gravity, still had to overcome the pain to achieve balance. Was there the entire time, hand on Sar's neck, speaking to it, encouraging it, reminding it that the pain was temporary but the healing was permanent. By the end of the process, Sar was standing, though barely. The creature was trembling from the exertion and pain, but it was standing. It was conscious and engaged in its own recovery. Doctor made a sound of amazement. "I have never seen a patient willing to endure such pain in such a state of injury. The creature must trust you completely." "No," said, understanding something deeper. "The creature trusts itself, but it is allowing itself to trust me to guide it through the pain safely. That is different. That is what animals do when they know someone has earned the right to lead them through difficulty." That night sat with Sar again while the creature rested. The pain medication had taken effect, and the great predator was beginning to fall into sleep. Talked to it softly, telling stories from Earth. He talked about lions and tigers, about bears and wild dogs. He talked about creatures that lived dangerous lives and survived through strength and intelligence and family bonds. "You are not so different from them," said. "You are alone here, far from your pack, far from your offspring, but you are not weak. You are doing something harder than hunting. You are learning to be human, not in body, but in mind. You are learning to accept help. You are learning that strength is not just about fighting, but about surviving, about adapting, about trusting others." Sar's breathing had slowed. Its eye was closing. But before complete sleep took it, the creature made one more sound, a long and low sound that seemed to carry gratitude in its vibration. The next morning brought a surprise. Sar walked again without the support system. Its leg was still weak, but the creature was determined. It moved slowly, carefully, but it moved. The broken bone was holding. The muscles were responding. The healing was progressing faster than any medical prediction had suggested. Commander stood in the observation room watching the creature move with increasing confidence. "You have done more than treat an injury," said. "You have given Sar hope. You have shown that this creature is not a monster to be feared, but a being worthy of respect and medical care equal to any intelligent species." Watched Sar take another slow step and felt something shift in the station around him. The fear that had filled the medical bay on the first day was completely gone now. In its place was respect. In its place was understanding. "This is what medicine should be," said quietly. "Not fear, not judgment, not seeing danger and running from it, but seeing pain and reaching toward it with compassion. That is what makes healing possible." The looked up from its slow walk and met eyes one more time. In that moment, something the fever came on suddenly. Was reviewing Sar's medical data on the morning of the 9th day when the temperature readings spiked. What had been a normal recovery took a sharp turn. The internal bleeding had stopped. The leg was healing well, but something in the creature's system had become infected. His hand froze on the data screen as he read the numbers again, hopping he had misunderstood them. He had not. Doctor called, keeping his voice level. "Come look at this." The medic appeared within minutes, his crystalline form shifting colors as he processed the new information. Behind him had already noticed the change in Sar's monitoring systems. The Great was breathing harder than before. Its heartbeat had accelerated. Small tremors moved through its massive body. "An infection," said. It was not a question. "Yes," confirmed. "Probably from the deep wounds on the side. Something we missed or something the creature's immune system could not handle alone. The infection is now in the bloodstream." Then we must sedate it and begin aggressive antibiotic treatment, said. He was already moving toward the medication storage, his 6 limbs moving in practiced efficiency. Wait, said. The word was quiet, but it stopped completely. We need to think about this carefully. Think turned back. Doctor, if we do not treat this immediately, the creature will die within hours. Its immune system cannot fight a bloodstream infection alone. I know, said. But if we follow standard protocol for a creature this size, we will sedate it heavily and give it chemical antibiotics that are designed for humanoid physiology. Those chemicals are harsh. They work on us because we evolved to handle them, but Sar's body is different. We do not know how it will react. Had moved to Sar's side and was speaking softly to the creature, running her hand along its neck. The young understood what was saying. Heavy sedation would change this consciousness completely. It would leave the creature vulnerable, trapped inside its own mind with fever and confusion. Then what do you suggest? Asked. His tone suggested he already knew the answer would be unusual. Gentle care, said. Precise antibiotics, yes, but ones that are less harsh, constant monitoring. And we keep the creature awake and present. Consciousness helps the body fight infection. It gives the mind something to hold on to while the body does its work. A new voice interrupted from the communication system. This is Commander Polis. I'm overriding all current medical decisions on the case. The station commander, the bureaucrat who had given permission to work at Zephyr 7 only because was willing to work for minimal compensation. The administrator who saw resource expenditure as a primary concern. Commander Polis entered the medical suite with 2 security personnel. He was a large with the bearing of someone who made life-or-death decisions based on policy rather than need. His crystalline form was a deep brown color that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Doctor, Polis said, your experimental treatment has proceeded far longer than authorized. Now the creature is in critical condition. I am taking over medical command of this case. Sir, said carefully, I am not authorized to stop you, but I strongly advise against heavy sedation right now. The creature's immune system is fighting the infection, if we sedate it. You are right, Polis interrupted. You are not authorized to advise me. Doctor, administer the standard infection protocol. Full sedation, systemic antibiotics, containment field in case of aggression. Stood frozen between 2 orders. His crystalline structure flickered with uncertainty. Doctor said, speaking to the medic instead of the commander, what do you think is the right choice? It was a dangerous question to ask, putting in direct conflict with station authority, but needed to know if the medic had learned anything in the past 9 days. His form stopped flickering. His colors settled into a pattern that seemed to suggest resolution. I think the survival is more important than procedure, said. He turned to Commander Polis. Sir, I must respectfully refuse. Doctor's approach has shown consistent results. The creature is intelligent and responsive to gentle care. I believe heavy sedation would be counterproductive. The tension in the room became solid enough to touch. You are refusing a direct order from station command? Polis said. His voice was calm, which somehow made it more threatening. Yes, said. For medical reasons, as the lead physician on this case, I have that authority. Commander Polis stared at for a long moment. Then he turned to, if the creature dies, you will both be held responsible. You understand that? I understand, said, and I accept that responsibility. Polis left the medical suite without another word. But everyone knew he would be watching. One mistake, one wrong decision, and both would be removed from their positions. The station commander did not accept being contradicted. The fever climbed through the afternoon. By evening, Sar was in visible distress. The creature's temperature had risen 3 degrees beyond what any creature should be able to survive. The infection was spreading faster than any antibiotic could fight. Did not sleep. He sat beside Sar through the night, one hand always on the creature's neck, feeling the heat radiating from the scaled skin. He spoke constantly, giving the creature something to anchor its fevered mind to. He talked about water and mountains. He talked about hunting and family bonds. He talked about the determination it took to survive a harsh world. You have survived crashes, said. You have survived injury. You will survive this. Your body knows how to fight. Your mind knows how to endure. I will stay here. You are not alone in this. Came to relieve him at midnight, but would not leave. She sat on the other side of and together they kept vigil. Doctor checked the creature's readings every hour, administering the antibiotics that were gentler and more targeted than what standard protocol would have provided. As the night deepened, Sar's breathing became labored. The fever had peaked at levels that seemed impossible for any creature to survive. Felt the moment when despair tried to take hold. This was the point where loss happened. This was where even the best care sometimes was not enough. But he did not let that despair reach Sar. He pressed his hand against the creature's burning neck and spoke with a certainty he did not entirely feel. "You will survive this," he said. "I have seen creatures as big as you survive worse. I have seen creatures fight through fevers higher than this, and you are stronger than any of them. You are a parent protecting your offspring. You do not give up. You fight. You push through pain and fever and fear. You fight." Something shifted in Sar's breathing. The labored gasps began to stabilize. The trembling slowed. The creature's eye opened and focused on with such intensity that the human felt it like a physical force. Then slowly, the fever began to break. By dawn, Sar's temperature had dropped 2 full degrees. By midday, it had dropped 3 degrees. The infection that had seemed unstoppable the night before was now retreating, pushed back by the creature's powerful immune system and the gentle but precise antibiotics had chosen. Doctor made a sound that was probably celebration. "Look at the white blood cell count. Look at the immune markers. The creature's body has defeated the infection." Commander Polis arrived in the medical suite in the afternoon. He looked at the creature's readings, at the evidence that the fever was breaking, that the infection was being fought, that Sar would survive. "I underestimated you," Polis said too. It seemed to cost him something to say it. "No, sir," said. "You did not underestimate me. You made a choice based on procedure and resource management. That choice was valid based on everything you knew. I simply made a different choice based on what I understood about the creature's nature." "The creature is alive," Polis said. "That is what matters." He paused and then added, "Continue your treatment, doctor. Continue as you see fit." When the commander had left, made a sound that the translation matrix could not quite identify. It might have been relief or joy or simple exhaustion. All three, probably. Looked at Sar, whose breathing was finally normal again. The Great's eye was still focused on him, still holding that same intensity. "You did it," said. "Your body did it. I just helped you remember that you could." In the hours that followed, Sar's condition improved steadily. The infection was completely contained by evening. The fever was gone by midnight. And when finally allowed himself to sleep for 3 hours, he did it sitting beside the creature, his hand still on Sar's neck, both of them finally at peace. Doctor sat in the observation room reviewing what had happened. "The creature trusts more than its own body," said. "That is the only explanation for how it recovered. 2 weeks had passed since the fever broke." Sar was walking with barely a limp. The broken leg was nearly fully healed, the bone having knitted back together with a speed that exceeded every medical prediction. The deep wounds on the creature's side had closed to simple scars that would fade completely within days. It was eating solid food, moving with the confidence of a being that knew its recovery was complete. Made his final examination with mixed feelings, relief that his patient was healing perfectly, sadness that the intensive care was ending, uncertainty about what came next. "Your body is telling me you are ready to leave," he said to Sar. The creature made a series of low sounds and did not need translation to understand the meaning. Sar missed its offspring. Sar was ready to go home. Commander was present for the final medical review. She listened to his assessment, heard doctor confirm that it was fit for transport, and then she shared news that had not expected. "The peace talks have progressed beyond what anyone thought possible," said. "When Sar returns home, the creature will tell of how it was treated here. It will tell of being saved not by advanced technology or diplomatic pressure, but by simple respect and medical care. This will change how the people view the Galactic Council." "That is good," said. "A creature like Sar will be more valuable to peace as a believer than as a victim." "More than that," continued. "The leadership has specifically requested that a human representative be present at the final peace negotiations. They want to acknowledge what you have done, what Doctor has done for their species." Shook his head. "I have not done anything except medicine. I have treated an injured creature, nothing more." "No," said. The had entered the medical bay silently and was now standing beside his human colleague. "You have done something much larger. You have shown us a new way of thinking. You have proven that understanding is stronger than fear. You have changed how we will approach medical care forever." Over the next 3 days, word spread through the station about work with the medical personnel from other sectors came to observe. They saw a human working with a creature that should have killed him on the first day. They saw the responding with trust and cooperation. They saw that everything they had believed about treatment and patient care had been incomplete. One of those observers was Dr. Shen, a specialist in complex cases who had been skeptical of methods from the start. She approached him on the afternoon before SAR's transport was scheduled to depart. "I have been studying your approach," Shen said. "The concept of understanding the psychology of the patient before administering treatment. The idea that the patient's mental state affects the body's ability to heal. These principles contradict everything we have been taught." "They contradict what you have been taught," said carefully. "On Earth, these principles are basic medicine. We learned thousands of years ago that a patient's mind and body are connected. Fear makes pain worse. Trust makes healing faster. These are not new discoveries. They are just new to this space station." "I want to learn," Shen said. "Will you teach me?" Looked at the Sirius and felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was not just a veterinarian anymore. He was becoming something larger. He was becoming a bridge between two ways of seeing the universe. "Yes," he said, "I will teach you. But first, you must learn to see creatures not as problems to be solved with force, but as beings to be understood with patience." The day before SAR's departure spent the entire afternoon with the creature. They did not do any medical procedures. They simply existed together, the human and in shared silence that needed no translation. When evening came and it was time to separate, SAR stood and moved close to. The creature's great head lowered until it was level with the human's face. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, eye to eyes, being to being. Then SAR made a series of sounds that Commander translated as she entered the medical bay. "SAR says you have given it more than healing," said, her voice tight with emotion. "It says you have given it honor. It says that in its culture, a being who protects and heals is considered sacred. You are sacred to SAR, Doctor, and the people will remember this." Felt tears forming and did not bother to hide them. "Tell it that I am honored to have cared for it," said. "Tell it that it was brave and strong and that I will never forget." The transport arrived at dawn, a massive ship designed specifically for moving large creatures between planets. Watched as the medical team carefully guided SAR through the corridors toward the docking bay. The moved slowly, not from injury but from what recognized as reluctance to leave. At the entrance to the docking bay, SAR stopped and looked back at one final time. The human nodded, a gesture of farewell and respect. They made a low sound and then it turned and walked into the transport. The doors closed behind it with a pneumatic hiss. Stood in the corridor for a long time after the transport departed. Doctor came to stand beside him, and neither of them spoke. There was nothing to say that had not already been said through actions and care and understanding. 1 week later, a message arrived from the home world. It was not directed at specifically, but it was meant for him. In it, SAR described the moment it was reunited with its offspring. It described the feast held in its honor by the people. It described how the creature had told the entire population about the human doctor who had seen not a monster but a patient. Not a threat, but a being worthy of respect. The message concluded with sounds that translated as, "The human called has made the people understand that strength is not measured only in claws and teeth. Strength is measured in courage and compassion. When we remember, we will remember to be both strong and kind. This is a new way of thinking for us. This is a better way." Station Commander Polis called to his office to inform him that he had been promoted. Would now oversee the creation of a new medical division dedicated to treating non-humanoid patients. The division would be based on principles of understanding and respect, rather than fear and control. "You have changed how this station operates," Polis said. "I was wrong to doubt you. I was afraid of what I did not understand. You have taught me that fear is not a valid reason for rejection." In the months that followed, his division grew. He trained dozens of medics in the principles that he had discovered or rediscovered in treating SAR. Doctor became his primary assistant, proving himself to be a gifted teacher and quick learner. Became one of the most skilled practitioners of the new medical approach. Even Dr. Shen, the skeptical specialist, became a dedicated advocate for understanding patients as complete beings rather than just collections of symptoms. One evening, stood in the observation deck looking out at the stars. Doctor joined him, as he often did in the quiet hours when the station was at rest. "I was thinking about the first day," said, "when we were all afraid of the creature, when I thought you were insane for approaching it without protection." "You were right to be concerned," said. "The could have killed me very easily, but it did not, because it saw something in me that did not mean it harm." "That is the secret, I think," said. "The creatures we treat sense intention. They understand on some level whether we come to them with fear or with care, and if we come with care, they respond with cooperation." "Yes," said, "and it works both ways. If we approach with respect, we learn to respect what we approach. The fear goes away not because the danger is gone, but because we understand that the danger is not intentional. It is simply the nature of the creature." A transport ship moved past the station, heading toward the Galactic Council chambers where the peace negotiations were being finalized. The delegation was on that ship, new. And at the peace table, when the final agreement was presented, there would be a note about the human doctor who had healed the ambassador not with technology but with understanding. The peace would not have happened without that healing. The understanding would not have happened without that one human who saw an injured creature and decided to treat it with respect instead of fear. "Your people have a gift," said. "Humans see things that we do not see. You see past the obvious danger to the being underneath." "All people have that gift," said. "It is just that my people learned long ago through many mistakes that fear is expensive. Compassion is cheaper and more effective, but any species can learn this. You are learning it right now." Behind them, the medical station continued its work. In the treatment bays, creatures from 100 different species were being cared for by medics who had learned that medicine was not about control, but about understanding, about seeing the patient and not just the injury, about respecting life in all its forms. And in the stars above, on a distant world, a named Sar looked up at the sky and remembered the human who had healed it. The creature did not understand all of the things it had learned during its time on the medical station, but it understood one thing very clearly. Strength and kindness were not opposites. They were the same thing, expressed by beings who understood that all life deserved respect and care. Oh, quickly, the trust gave the creature something to hold on to while the infection was being fought. "Humans are strange," said. She said it without judgment, just observation. "Yes," agreed, "but perhaps that strangeness is not a weakness. Perhaps it is something we should learn from." In the medical bay, slept against Sar's shoulder, and the great breath deep and regular, its heartbeat strong and steady, its body winning the battle that the doctors had been afraid to fight. Asked between them that had nothing to do with medicine or species or fear. It was recognition. Two beings separated by everything except the most important thing of all, the understanding that all life deserved respect and care. "We're willing to learn. That is where the healing truly began." They made a soft sound, almost like contentment. Outside the medical bay, the lights of the space station shone like stars. And in that small room, a human and an alien creature had begun to build a bridge between two worlds that nobody had believed could ever touch. Did not know yet how true those words would become.